You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to Proof Text and particularly Holy Love. And I'm Fred Long, one of the hosts, and our other host is Pat Holley. Pat, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying this nice spring weather.
Is spring? I guess it's not technically summer yet. Is that correct? When is summer?
That's somewhere around June 21st, I think.
June 21st. Yeah, I guess it is still spring. Man, the weather is just beautiful. We had a deluge of rain, tornadoes, people dying, actually. It was a bad time. And now there's this cool cold front, but it's still sunny. I mean, it's pretty glorious. Actually, I have minnows. I don't know when I'll get on the water, but I've had a kind of a busy streak.
You let me know when it's time for that.
Yeah, I'll do that. Maybe this weekend, Saturday. I don't know what to talk about that. Well, last time we were talking about the problem of evil and love. Mentioned Richard Swinburne at the end. Guy's brilliant. And so, again, just commend his work to you and thinking. And we thought we would talk about, we'd kind of get back into Scripture directly, although I think we always try to draw from Scripture. And particularly love as a prime virtue. And so let me share the screen and let me see if I can do that. See window. I'm going to share my Logos Bible software. So those of you who watched any of my work or videos online, you know that I use Logos Bible software quite a bit. I use a color coding. It kind of helps me to kind of see stuff. I know that can be maybe dizzying to people. But we're looking at Galatians 5:22 and 23. This is a great verse to memorize, by the way. When I was a young Christian, I memorized this verse among others. In fact, I actually have my scripture memorization little thing that I carried with me to school. As I was walking to classes, I would memorize these verses, and I had different verses, but this is all the verses I had memorized directly. Now it'd be pretty rusty, but I've drawn from that so much. But this is definitely one to memorize. So the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. I mean, this is great.
You miss faithfulness.
Did I miss faithfulness? Oh, okay. So I need to keep working on that. So faithfulness. So this is a list. I love lists in Scripture. And one thing I will show you is that, and maybe I've mentioned before, is that when you look at lists, you need to pay attention to the ordering. Love is listed first often, or it builds to be last. So that's not accidental. I could take you to 4 or 5 passages, and that would be the case. So there's a primacy to love. And I'm gonna take us to another one, 1 Corinthians 13. Is it 13? So here, now these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. So here it's last. And then Paul says the greater of these is love. So love, there's a primacy about love, but it's in relationship to other things. And I guess that's not surprising, because love doesn't eradicate, right? Love invites in. And so love is the cardinal virtue for believers. I'm going to take you to another passage, and that is 2 Peter 1:9. That love in this listing of virtues, and this is a great verse, applying all diligence, add to your faith these things, and Peter starts piling up things that you add in, or that you keep growing in your faith: moral excellence, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, godliness, brotherly kindness, and love. Okay, so love, agape, is the culmination of these added in things here, that we grow. We
I
grow,
would
and
say
so
that love is both the ground and the culmination.
yes, it is. It's the ground and the culmination. I'd say so. It's the ground and the culmination. Yeah, well put. Yeah,
Mm,
so it's the cardinal chief virtue, but it's never alone. Like, it always invites in other things. I mean,
mm,
um, faithfulness is a part of love. Kindness is a part of love, I would say. Um, so joy, joy. There should be joy in love, right? So
mm,
self-control. In our living as disciples right now, self-control is a part of that love. Persevering, like staying in knowledge, actually knowing things. There's a relationship between knowing and loving. um love love is ever expansive, right? So it's going to be taking in all things into its purview, in a way not to control but to understand, to
mm.
have deeper knowledge. And that happens within marriage. You have your relationship with this other person, that you can't exhaust that knowledge. like as that person, as you grow in your relationship with that person, you could be growing in knowledge. And there's a bit of a mystery to that, because it's a wonder, that you can't exhaust knowing this person. I mean, I think that's what makes eternity so appealing. Everlastingness is because it actually is fitting for the nature of personhood. I mean, I think that's why Father, Son, and Spirit, from eternity through eternity, won't ever be bored. Like, I think there's something to be looked at there, in terms of, why are we so prone to boredom? I would say that somehow something is off in our expectation about what is excitement, what
Mm.
is enthrallment, what brings joy. I
Yeah.
think it's that flesh that keeps being unsatisfied, that always is looking for something more, because it is indeed unsatisfied in itself. And in fact, I would say that it can't be satisfied, because it's looking to itself for its own fulfillment. So the flesh, as kind of a way to describe our humanness, in our createdness, once we keep looking at that createdness as in itself, as its end in itself, well, we're never going to be satisfied, because we were never meant to be solely made to our own end. We're always made to be in relationship. So if we keep looking inward, if we keep looking to that flesh as something that can satisfy us,
Mm.
it's gonna be futile. We're never gonna be satisfied. And that's a good thing, actually. It's almost like a moral law that the Lord has made for us, to say, yeah, you're never going to be satisfied. Sin is never satisfying.
Mm.
Thank God. It's addictive, certainly, but it never satisfied. It kind of ruins people, because it should, because it's never meant to be an end unto itself. It's always going to be unsatisfying. And so if you're unsatisfied with something, probably there's something sinful about your approach to it. Would you say that that's true, Pat?
Yeah,
I know I cover a lot of ground
in
there.
some ways you're
Yeah.
saying it sounds like you're saying that which I think I agree with you if I hear you saying it. There's a dissatisfaction involved in just self-interest efforts to try to be happy, that you're never going to be satisfied. But on the other side of it too is that, even with love in the best sense of the word, even when we get to heaven, there will be a form of dissatisfaction, not in the sense of unhappiness or void, but in the sense that there's always more to get because God is infinite and God is love. Then we will never get to the end of experiencing love and joy. There will always be this endless journey of enjoyment and increasing knowledge of God's love and our love of one another and deepening that for forever. It sounds like there's kind of a dissatisfaction on both ends of it. One is obviously very self-centered. The other one is from the perspective of, well, love is infinite, so have a good time for the rest of eternity, learning and growing.
Wow.
But this other aspect of it too, though, is that, in contrast to the scriptures that you have there, is that if you look at those, the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are
Yeah.
immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, defactions, envying, drunkenness, carousing. Oh my goodness. And I feel like there's at least two things in there that I want to point out. One is that they are all self-interested.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Yes.
all built on my own selfish interest. You could look at each one of
Yes.
those and see that's
Yep.
about me wanting to be happy. If I'm striving,
Yep.
it's because I don't like what you're doing and I want you to do what I want. If I'm jealous, it's because you have something that I want. I don't know the difference between jealousy and envy, but something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in other words,
Mm-hmm.
all these are self-interested. The other quality of them too is that they have these qualities of, maybe you could say, possessiveness or wrangling. There's
Mm-hmm.
a possessive wrangling that's happening in them, and you could
Like a
see
controlling, maybe?
controlling, possessive. Um, this
Mm-hmm.
striving, so to speak. But if you look at the qualities of the fruit of the spirit, they are not closed in. Like as you were saying, they're expansive.
Yes.
These other ones are closed in on themselves, whereas love, joy, just read them. Peace, patience is open to the other. Kindness is openness to the other. Goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. These are all very open and expansive, accepting, generous hearted type qualities that are open to
Wow.
receive the other. And the
Wow.
flesh is all closed in on itself. So I do
Wow.
think that those are essential contrasts that are there.
Yeah. Very helpful. Yeah, there's just so much to think about here.
Mm.
I'd like to come back to what you said before, is that there's almost a need, I think you said, for us to be unsatisfied a little bit with life, or
Mm.
how did you state that? Because it made me think of the the evil one. Like, why did Satan fall?
Mm.
And I think there's been, I think we can learn something by thinking about that. But one of the things, I think it was C.S. Lewis who stated it, that it was because of his creatureliness that he was unsatisfied in his creatureliness, and that made him rebel.
Mm.
And it, I think, had to do with the fact that, and this is related, give me a moment here. I think it's related to the fact that he was so wonderfully made. I mean, like, just below God.
Mm.
He was like this awesome being, but he wasn't God. And
Mm.
it's that lack that that he leaned into. And I'm wondering if there's just something for us to sit in with that, is that we long for that perfect experience or that perfect satisfaction. Like we long for that. And a lot of these things arise, I think, because we're wanting that perfect feeling. We're wanting that perfect control of having or whatever. And it gives
there's some
rise to
missing
fighting.
ingredient that we want to have. We may not know what it is, but we're after it.
We're after it. Yeah. And I'm wondering if, man, we just need to sit with that dissatisfaction rather than to try to satisfy it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if a big part of the Christian life is to relax, is to not seek to control that, to sit with my dis-ease, in life. I'm wondering if that, if I mean, I think that, Jesus says, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself. If that denial of self is really the starting point, because that flesh, if we're just stuck in this fleshly thinking, and we are embodied in fleshed creatures, and the flesh is not bad, it's just that on its own, turned in, self-referential, it's bad. That's the hook part that wants to keep hooking us in, that we need to acknowledge that, but not give into it. Acknowledge it, and say, I'm not going to try to satisfy that creatureliness, to give into the fear, the guilt, the shame, the alienation, right? The not give into that lacking, that scarcity, but to be satisfied with what God has given me, and
Yes, I feel like
not to go for more.
I feel like that's actually kind of built into the temptation story in Genesis, because I think that there's a couple of lies there, you know, in there. That one is that God is holding out on you. He's not
Yes.
giving you all the information. There's something for you to have by choosing to grasp the forbidden fruit. And in that, you will find your destiny and your fullness. In other
Yes.
words, through your own self effort, in
Yeah.
your independence from God, because God Himself is not your grounding. He's not to be trusted. So
Yeah.
it seems like there's that lie there, that one is that God is holding out on you, He can't be trusted, and number two, you must seize it on your own terms to find this joy, and it's not going to be related to God. It's going to be related to your own egocentricity, that you can find
Yes.
your own happiness in your own, like you said. I think you used a good term, self-referential. It's about
Yeah.
me, my journey, and my own terms, and I will like, it's kind of the Prometheus spirit, is that I will do this.
Yeah.
Um, but we are creatures,
Yeah.
and we find our destiny and our glory precisely by submitting to that God who loves us and to
Yeah.
receive His love.
And
But I
trust
do
it.
think there's a natural resistance to that. We want to be an island in ourselves.
Yes. So trust is the fundamental
Yes.
need. Um,
Mm.
so yeah. So here I have Genesis 3 up, and you're right. I think you're right that there's a bad theology. The serpent gives a bad theology, a bad
Yes.
perspective of who God is. It's
Mm.
untrue. God is not trustworthy. He's withholding good things from you. And positively, I mean, like, he's presenting something else to them, that you will be like God. Don't you want to be like God? Which
Mm.
is what he fell from. what
Yes.
his temptation, the thing that he was wanting but couldn't have.
Mm.
And I think that's the nature of temptation, is to get things that aren't rightly ours to have,
Yes. Yeah.
in a way that's independent of God and not in relation to God. It's almost like we're rejecting our dependence on God, which really means we're rejecting our relationship with God. I mean, I think that's our biggest problem, right? Is thinking that we have to or can or should do it alone. And in our American culture, I mean, we're very independent. We're very, work for it. We can satisfy our own needs. We're trying to make all this money, make our ends meet. That's detrimental to our discipleship. That kind of mentality and thinking is really detrimental. Yeah. So love is in the realm of the Spirit, and in its opposite, the fruit of the Spirit, single. The Spirit produces a fruit which is unified, versus the deeds, plural, of the flesh, which are multiple and are self-seeking and strife producing factions and jealousy. Like it's constantly working against not only oneself, but it's pitting ourselves against others. Man,
Chaotic.
that's awful. I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
There's no joy in that at all. I mean, that kind of living, that's hard living. I mean, that's going to take years off your life. Really. I mean, if you begin to embody the deeds of the flesh, that is stressful. It's onerous. It's debilitating. It's life sucking. I don't want to have any part to do with that. Life is too precious.
There's even love. I think there's even love hidden in that, in the sense that, in other words, if you could be happy by doing those things, then I don't think that would be loving on God's part. And I think that the seeds of sins are self-destructive, and they decay and they turn badly because we're made for love. And so that bears its consequences within itself. And I think that's part of God's way of loving us, so that hopefully we would get to the point to recognize, let's see, this is not working out for me. Let me try something else. Let me look outside of myself for some meaning.
Yeah. And I think there's kind of a mercy in that, because it's just not satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of beat yourself against the wall and you go, well, that path isn't working.
Yeah. Well, man, I think we're at the end of our time. There's a lot there to keep thinking about. I hope that you're inspired to lean into this notion of love, this idea, this big idea, central idea in Scripture. It is
all-encompassing idea.
It's an all-encompassing idea. I mean, obviously, Jesus embodies that love completely. In Jesus is God's demonstration of love. And so there's just so much here. And so we're looking at love and the flesh in this episode, love versus the deeds of the flesh. Well, thanks, Pat, for your insights and taking us to Genesis 3. That was really helpful. And
thank you. I always enjoy it.
Yeah. So we hope you're enjoying this, and hope to have you watch us and listen to us next time. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.